Welcome to Shujin Academy VGM Club. I'm Professor Tom, your faculty sponsor. I'm putting a crew together. It's a bunch of smart VGM tracks that know how to get the job done. We're going to get in, we're going to take care of business, and then we're going to get out. Today's play-in track was Overview from the Super NES version of Metal Marines, composed by Hiromi Shibano. Metal Marines is an early real-time strategy game, and this is the song that plays out as you review things and plan out your tactics for your next mission. And this episode is all about songs that sound like making a plan, whether that's a plan to pull off a heist, a plan to win a climactic battle, or even a plan to finally eliminate all those pesky heroes and conquer the world. These are all tracks you can listen to while you plot out your next moves. Most of the songs on this episode are from a strategy game or an RPG or some other kind of game where you're using your brain as much as your thumbs, but we're going to kick off our first block with Another World 1, 5th Day, from the Sega Genesis port of Burning Force, an action game about a girl riding her hoverbike into danger. It was composed by Yoshinori Kawamoto, adapting his soundtrack from the arcade game. After that, we'll hear Layer Cake from Persona 5, composed by show favorite Shoji Meguro. This is the song from the game's weapon shop, which is run by an ex-mobster who gets his own subplot about shady arms deals and Yakuza intrigue. The dungeons in this game are all modeled around heists, so there are multiple tracks on the soundtrack that could fit into this episode, but I'm limiting myself to this song and one other one later. The third song in the block is Search in the Midst 2002 from the DS version of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, composed by Akemi Kimura. All the Ace Attorney games are about thinking and investigating, and this is the most intellectual episode I've ever done, so the Ace Attorney series earns 2 playlist slots today, one here and another one in Block 3. And for the last song in our first block, it'll be another song from the DS. This'll be the title theme from Planet Puzzle League, composed by Masanobu Matsunaga. The soundtrack for this game is excellent, and it's got several entries on my list of songs to play for the show someday, although this is the only one that worked out with today's episode. Okay, crew, let's execute Phase 1. Those songs were Another World 1, Fifth Day, from the Genesis version of Burning Force, Layer Cake from Persona 5, Search in the Midst 2002 from the DS version of Phoenix Wright Justice for All, and Title from Planet Puzzle League. That first phase went off without a hitch, gang. Now let's talk about Phase 2, where we take care of business. To start things off, we're going to hear Red Thirst, the theme of Anacharis the Mummy from Darkstalkers 3, also known as Vampire Savior. This song was composed by Masato Koda, and it's a lot smoother than most of the character stage themes you hear in fighting games. After that, we'll hear Decline from the original Super Famicom release of Front Mission, composed by the great Yoko Shimomura. I only own 2 Super Famicom carts. Front Mission is one of them, and Final Fantasy VI is the other. I've never actually played either of my Super Famicom carts since I don't speak Japanese, and I don't own a Super Famicom to SNES converter, and also I own English versions of both Front Mission and Final Fantasy VI on at least one other system. But I have played through the DS port of Front Mission, and I've played a lot of Front Mission 3 and Front Mission 4, and it's a great series. I'm excited that several games in the series are getting remastered for modern hardware, and I'm hopeful it leads to a revival of the series and a sequel. The third song in our set will be Spring Cave from Pokémon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky. This fantastic soundtrack was composed by Arato Iyoshi, Hideki Sakamoto, Keisuke Ito, Kenichi Saito, and Yoshihiro Maeda, and I've played songs from it before, and I will play more in the future because it is just that good. For the last song in this block, it'll be Expedition 1 from Fire Emblem Awakening, composed by Hiroki Morishita and Rei Kondo. Nintendo had considered ending the Fire Emblem series with this game, but instead it became a massive hit and brought tons of new fans to the franchise, myself among them. This is one of the pre-battle songs that plays out while you decide where to position your troops. Okay, it's time to execute Phase 2. Those songs were Red Thirst from Darkstalkers 3, Decline from the Super Famicom version of Front Mission, Spring Cave from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky, and Expedition 1 from Fire Emblem Awakening. Normally I'd have an ad from our sponsor here, but the patron of this operation wishes to remain anonymous, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut about who asked me to do all of this planning. Alright everyone, we got in, we did what we came to do, now we just gotta get out without losing anybody. It's time for Phase 3 of our operation. To start off, we'll hear Investigation, the Core 2001, from the DS version of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, composed by Masakuzu Sugimori. And if things go wrong here, we might need to call a good attorney like Phoenix Wright to get us off the hook. After that, we'll hear Menu from Bahamut Lagoon, composed by Noriko Matsueda. Bahamut Lagoon is a tactical RPG for the Super Famicom developed by Square. Like several other Golden Age Square Super Famicom games, it's never received a proper release in English, although there is a fan translation from noted emulation developer Nier. The translation was actually Nier's last project before they tragically committed suicide. Our third song is Shitto Kai from Shin Megami Tensei If, composed by Tsukasa Masuko. SMT If is another Super Famicom JRPG that has never been officially translated into English. I'm a little surprised that Atlas hasn't remastered it, translated it, and released it as Persona Zero over here, since SMT If was a huge influence on the Persona series. There's even a side mission in the PSP version of Persona 2 Innocent Sin that takes place in the same high school as Shin Megami Tensei If. Speaking of Persona, our fourth song is Living with Determination Iwatodai Station Arrange from Persona 3, composed by Shoji Meguro. There's another track on the Persona 3 soundtrack called Living with Determination, and this track is a reworking of that one, but ironically, this has the more determined feel of the two. The fifth song in our block is Silent Approach from Project Cross Zone, composed by Naofumi Tsuruyama, Takuya Hanaoka, and Kayoko Matsushima. Project Cross Zone is a tactical RPG featuring characters from various Namco, Capcom, and Sega franchises. It's a follow-up to Namco Cross Capcom, a PS2 game that didn't come out in North America. A big portion of this game's soundtrack is arrangements of songs from the various characters' original titles, but this song is an original composed just for Project Cross Zone. Both Project Cross Zone and its sequel felt like games that would have come out in Japan without seeing the light of day in North America, but they did come out over here, and I bought them, because I support companies making crazy crossover games like this. Finally in this block, it'll be Retribution from Gauntlet IV for the Sega Genesis, composed by Hitoshi Sakamoto and Masaharu Iwata. As you might expect from those two names, Gauntlet IV has a great soundtrack, although it always feels a little overlooked for me, because it's from a lesser-known entry in a franchise that's not known for its music. Time to finish this. Let's all get home in one piece. Those songs were Investigation, the Core 2001 from Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney for the DS, Menu from Bahamut Lagoon, Shitto Kai from Shin Megami Tensei If, Living with Determination, Iwatodai Station Arrange from Persona 3, Silent Approach from Project Cross Zone, and Retribution from Gauntlet IV. That's the show. If you want to reach me, you can email me at shujinacademyvgmclub@gmail.com. Find my Professor Tom channel on YouTube by searching for Shujin Academy VGM Club, or use the link in the show notes. In light of recent events, I've chosen to stop using Twitter, but you can find me on Mastodon at Shujin Academy VGM Club at mastodon.coffee, and I'm active on Tumblr at shujinacademyvgmclub.tumblr.com. I'm also on Instagram at Shujin Academy VGM Club, and I can be found on Discord as Professor Tom 7512. Please leave me a 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you're finding this episode. Look for new episodes on Thursdays whenever I get them done, which is typically once or twice a month. Special thanks for this episode goes out to fellow VGM podcaster Jameson of Bar Silence Podcast for contributing cover art. You can and should find Bar Silence Podcast wherever you download podcasts, and check out his website at barsilence.com. I've got one more song to play us out, and it's Talk from Persona 5, composed by Shoji Meguro. This is the song that plays out as you negotiate with a defeated enemy to see if they'll join you or just die. Thanks for listening. I'm Professor Tom, and I'll see you next time on Shujin Academy VGM Club.